Namaskar and welcome to Sattology. Today in the history section, we are going to discuss that why the Western academicians, what is the reason why they don't accept the dates as given in Purana and the Itihas of Bharat, and also they keep on insisting, virtually no Hindu actually practicing Hindu is included in the Hindu Studies Department of Western universities. So, मेरे साथ मेरे co-writer and friend Sharad is also there. Yes.
Namaskar, viewers. So, history dates. That's the topic of this show, and we will be talking about this. But Aditya ji, Aditya does a lot of research, and he writes books, and he has done a lot of date research related to Mahabharat. And he's finding all those challenges, and so that's what it's coming in the program. And even when I was doing my book, there was a lot of question around the dates. One of the thing which I found why Western people don't accept our dates is because the whole logic of written history and the whole logic of everything is starting from 4004 BC, or sorry, 4004 thousand years back, from the start of Christianity, right? That's how the Western scholars try to superimpose this date theory on top of every ancient civilization. And out of 47 or 48 ancient civilization listed by UNESCO, only one or two is surviving, and Sanatana Dharma is one of them. So they are waiting it to probably also become extinct in near future, and that's where we will not allow this to happen, because this is the way of life, Sanatan, and everything what we say needs to be researched. Obviously we lack some research, but then again the whole research and whole argument is a Western way of doing things. So we have to see how our ideas can be mainstream and our dates could be accepted, right? So from carbon dating to setting up the standard, everything. I had written in my second book that high time Indians should have their own standard, their own carbon dating, their own methodology, because everything is methodology. Even the genetic research, the archaeology, it could be very easily tempered. It could be very easily tempered to have the certain narrative, and that's where we should continue highlighting this, so that the right information is heard and accepted by all. So Adi, please continue with this.
The core problem I see is that the Indian historians and Indian authors are not accepted by the Western academicians. Can you imagine that Stanford and Harvard, two of the prominent education institutes in the US, they both run Hindu Studies department, and not a single member of any of those Hindu Studies department is a disciple of any parampara in India. Neither they're part of any Ramanujacharya Sampradaya, nor they're part of Shankaracharya Sampradaya, neither they're part of Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. They're not part of any Sampradaya. Most of them, they go to churches and they follow the Christian way of life, and they are the head of the Hindu religious studies. Can you imagine that? Does any Hindu even can buy into that? So I think that's a major fault right there. And the Indian universities who are trying their hard to collaborate with these Western bodies, because these bodies, they fund the research, they have to comply by their rules to write books according to these guys. So the whole circle is needs to be challenged. That first of all, Hindus need to take ownership of their history and their material, number one. And these Western authors who are talking about Hinduism have to take an approval from India, and then they have to write something, or from the parampara. So right now what is happening is it looks like a propaganda. There is a person called Professor Francis Clooney in Harvard University, and he has his another person, the two people leading the Hindu Studies department. I can tell that if you challenge them on anything Hindu, they'll immediately go back to, no, this is what I have said, discussion is over. There's not even a discussion there, not even discussion. My way or the highway. And they're commenting on my religion, my culture, my history. It's a height of everything. It's just like an Indian department Indian university starts a department of Christianity, and we start questioning everything, or Islam also. So will that be acceptable by Christians and Islam? No. There is no. Hinduism is the only culture where the non-Hindus, they write books on Hinduism. A person who has no idea about Rig Veda is writing about Rig Veda. Now, this person, Francis Clooney, wrote a book on Vaishnavism, Sri Ramanujacharya. Ramanujacharya is respected by all of us as the father of Sri Sampradaya. This person who is following Christian ideals, writing the book on Ramanujacharya, so out of place, totally out of place. If he has to understand Ramanujacharya, first of all, he has to leave Christianity. He has to get Diksha in Ramanujacharya Sampradaya, and then he should begin living in the ashram. That is the best way for Francis Clooney to do that. But if he doesn't do that, what right he has got? What right? I don't know. And he's the dean of the Harvard University. Why not I consider Harvard as some lip-tartish leftist, liberal, ultra-leftist university? So this is what my point is. These professors or anyone should not speak about Hinduism or write about Hinduism or teach Hinduism unless they are a practicing Hindu themselves. They can be part of Shaiva Sampradaya, any Sampradaya they can choose, but they have to give up their existing belief. Otherwise, it is trying to look like they're trying to Christianize everything. Macaulay's Maximus work still going on, and they want to put everything in biblical times, whereas everybody knows that the Hinduism of Vedic culture is beyond the biblical times, is way above the biblical times. So we have to correct that. I think that has to.
Agree. And that's where you are writing books on that, and you are actually taking the ideas. I think more and more Indians should start writing. I think as the country grows, you will see more patent. You'll see more papers. You'll see more literature coming out. I think that culture is missing somewhere in the Indian education system. And I'm putting so I'm working on my third manuscript, where I'm putting all this thing as a small tidbits for the education policy, that the culture of writing, the way I see in American system, the kids will be writing anything, whatever they feel like, from a very young age. Now this culture in Indian school should be put right. So the whole grading of the students and all should change. People should start writing their own history, whether it's right or wrong. It should come from them. That culture is missing. That culture from grader onward to high school, to college, and then to research is missing, and we need lots of them, lots and lots of them. Now coming back to what's happening in US, I think California, I think at the you and a lot of people have started a America for Hindus, where you guys are taking it forward. I think one of the manifesto is about the education system, and as we proceed further and we have more congressmen, we should take this forward. And whenever we meet the foreign minister of India, and in such forum, he should be asked to put some kind of money, maybe get 10 every year, 5 to 10 Indian investors to sponsor, especially the key places like Stanford, Harvard, Cambridge type of place, where just 5 seats for Indian education, sponsored by Indian government, Indian businessmen. And then the lab. This is the lab where the idea will be generated and move to the every nooks and corner of the country, because these places are heard.
So there are systemic obstacles in the path of India. Systemic. Even if we have $20 million, $100 million, it doesn't matter how much money that you have. You still are going to fall under the same people. So they will decide the agenda on what you're going to do. And they are making their bread, every day's bread they're earning, by selling fake Hinduism. All their books need to be banned, and their research needs to be unpublished, because they are not worth it. Because if I counter it, I won't be even allowed to stand inside Howard University. This is how autocratic they are. They have the power to throw out everyone. It's like I am the judge, the victim, the juror, and everything. That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
So it's practically writers like you and me or anyone else has no chance.
No chance.
Practically no chance. It's zero chance unless we are them. And what we are saying is we are debunking what they're doing. So we are challenging what their narratives they're writing. We're challenging what they're saying, and it requires a lot more effort. And I think the only way it is possible is If the Indian government or any other government deems them illegal, bans their books, bans their research, that's what I call that why the Indian government should ban Harvard University in India. It's a big thing, but they are the ones who are deliberately working against the fabric of Hinduism.
Or you can do this instead of banning, say, entire university. Suppose you need
Hindu studies
management.
department. Yeah.
Suppose you need management and engineering and science and technology. So allow that stream. But anything literature, anything history, anything religion, no way. There has to be an Indian check, or because uh, this involves maybe something like that. Some mechanism could be bit like that to get the authentication. Otherwise, put on the government website and everywhere that this is false, fake news, fake history.
Stanford Hindu Studies, Harvard, and these are just two examples. And I have not even gone into the University of Berkeley's and Rutgers University and all these places. I have not even gone because unless our demand should be that the people who actually follow Hindu culture, they're part of the tradition. They are the only ones should be preaching in USA. And
Yes, and you are right, because see, you represent a sampradaya. You understand. See, there are a lot of things which in Sanskrit, which is not one-on-one mapping in English. You just cannot understand that, especially the whole language which we write. We are not on. So for example, a lion can make a different sound when it roars. A dog can make a different sound when it roars, even when it roars with the pain, with ecstasy, with all those things. But in Sanskrit, all this thing has been written in a form, whereas in English it will be only mentioned that a lion roared. So I'm just giving an example. There's a lot of analogy. So unless until you understand the atma, the soul, you cannot express yourself. And to understand the soul, as you rightly said, people have to live that life, which is to become a sanatani, to write, to understand, right? Even in a normal artist, film artist, or any artist, they get into the character by living that life, right? You just cannot see something in a studio, director gives you briefing and you write something.
so
So
Bhagavad Gita says that unless somebody knows the purpose, they cannot get the gyan because gyan is also directional. You need to know which direction you're going to go, and then only you understand what the gyan is. If the direction is to misrepresent, mistranslate, or translate without, it's just a simple example of Brahman. Brahman, the classification, it's a Vedic or Hindu. So for them, the Hinduism started in 1900s, and for them the Vedic is prehistory, and that is not relevant in today's time. Where Hinduism is the entire Hinduism was popular 5,000 years ago. So the Hinduism, the dates are way older than that. So by rejecting it altogether, what they're trying to do is Biblifying the entire Hindu history, which Hindus have to reject it. And even if the big names are there, the world is filled with where was the British Empire 80 years back, and today where it is, nothing there. Somebody challenged them too, and so we have to now begin challenging Harvard and Stanford and other big places as Americans
Princeton.
and question them. And their time is over because we don't want any misrepresentation, misinterpretation whatsoever. And I think that's the message that we need to stand very strongly as a community. And the people are going to get benefited, especially the Hindu culture, when it is stop getting misrepresented. Right now, if the process of misrepresentation is also strong and the process of proper representation is also strong, the old misrepresentation is also always going to prevail and create a confusion in the Hindu community. And with the fancy titles as a dean of Hindu studies and professor, who made them professor? I don't call them professor. I think they can't even argue with you and me. So there's no way they can be easily challenged. And just because somebody has book written in the Harvard Press, where he is the dean of the Harvard and he is the publisher of the Harvard, is like the everything they control, and still they are in problem. Why? Because there is something wrong. They are misrepresenting. They are working on the. It is a disservice to their own profession. It's a disservice to their own country, and it's a disservice to their own university actually. So I think Harvard should
Agree.
take a note of this and stop this demonizing of Hindu culture.
and under the garb of thinking, uh, critical thinking is good if it is literature, but it cannot be used for history. History is what happened.
Yeah.
History is science. You cannot have a critical science where you say that, oh, the scientific principle could have been different, situation was different. There's only one rule in science. There's only one rule in math. There could be multiple ways of doing it. So similarly, for history or for anything with a faith is not critical thinking, because people try. So the freedom of playing around with the fact in a different way, um, yeah, is creating all this wrong narrative, I think.
Yeah.
So and these people should be then asked, what's the solution they have for this problem which world is facing, corona. If they are so much
They have no
learned
solution.
ones,
There's no solution. They're living for the next
yeah.
paycheck.
So give a solution. Don't create a mass hysteria and fear. What solution they have from both management, supply chain, ethics, greed, economy, everything is involved, spirituality. This particular example which world is facing, if this so-called institution of high value have some solution, and they should give. Otherwise, what's the point in having such a institution of repute?
Yeah. No, agreed. Agreed. So our message is, we from Sattology, we challenge them. We want to challenge their narratives, and especially the Hindu Studies Department of Harvard must be stopped, because they should be, all funding needs to be withdrawn, and they have to appoint a Hindu traditional person who is actually following a tradition from India as the dean of Hindu studies, who can properly represent Ramanujacharya. We don't want the fake charlatans representing Ramanujacharya if they're not Sri Vaishnava. We cannot have a person going 50 years in a church representing Sri Vaishnava. Not possible. They can never. They have to be part of the tradition. Or if that is the case, then the head of the departments of Christian studies must be a Hindu. If that is the case of cultural integration, then let us give us a chance also. So if I challenge the Harvard University on that, if they can't do that, then we have to reject it or launch a campaign to have Hindus going less over there for Hindu studies. This is what it is. Namaskar,
Yeah,
and thank you for joining this exciting time of debunking mythology, especially on Harvard today. Thank you.
thank you.